why I love working with Indonesian women so much, or why I laughed, actually in the past, why I loved working with them so much. This is the topic of today's video, and yeah, I thought I will share this with you today because it was a great experience, since I had the privilege to live and work inside of Indonesia for quite some time. So I was not only a tourist traveling to Bali, surfing around, dating some girls. No, I was living inside of Indonesia. I worked, I was involved in the community, I was mingling with the local Indonesian people. And you know how it is at work, you know, you have good times, you have bad times, you know, it's stressful sometimes. And me working as a chef at the time, as an executive chef, so I had to manage my Indonesian female employees and also the male employees. I was a team leader, you know, I was leading large kitchen teams in international hotels in Indonesia. And it was just a fantastic experience working with these, especially ladies, these women, and yeah, also younger women, younger girls in Indonesia. And therefore I want to make this video just to share with you, and hopefully you can also then understand a little bit better my reasoning why I talk mostly so positively about these women. It's not because I idealize them, you know, or make something up in my mind. No, it's all based on true personal experience, you know. And I bet if you have the chance to work with these girls for a certain time, you will come to the same conclusions. So my work experience, I mentioned this already also in other videos, was about 4 years in Indonesia, in three different places: Jakarta, the capital, on Java Island, then Medan, fourth largest city in Indonesia, I believe, on Sumatra Island, and then I was also in Batam. That was my latest assignment a few years ago. Batam is a very small island off the coast of Singapore, you know. And so yeah, that was my work experience and the locations in Indonesia. But now you might ask why I want to share this experience here with you, why I want to share why I love working with Indonesian women so much. Because I want to do it also because I learned and found that there is, unfortunately, there are a lot of people who have remote knowledge about Indonesia, Indonesian people in general, but also Indonesian women. They have no clue, for what reason ever. And I'm not blaming them that they don't have a clue. I mean, if you live in Canada and never been to Indonesia and you are not interested to travel to Indonesia, I cannot blame you, because, you know, your life is in Canada, that's your thing, you live there, you're happy, so I cannot expect from you to know many things about Indonesia. But the crazy thing is that these ignorant people, they live in Southeast Asia. In Hong Kong, for example, a place where I would have never expected that. You know, the Hong Kong Chinese, we all know, used to be a British colony. They consider themselves as educated, highly developed, I don't know what, westernized, but they have no, at the time when I was living in Hong Kong, and I experienced this firsthand, you know, my first Indonesian girlfriend was a domestic worker in Hong Kong. She worked as a maid, and I know how badly she and her other friends, girlfriends, were being treated in Hong Kong. And that was also for the reason because these Hong Kong Chinese people, or her employer, or the employers of my then Indonesian friends, they had no bloody clue about Indonesian culture. They thought, and many other people around the world might think the same thing still today. They think, but also especially these Hong Kong Chinese people, yeah, who think they are so educated, and maybe still today they think that Indonesian girls or women they're coming from a rural background, which is mostly true, but they are poor, they have a darker skin, they are just Muslims, therefore they are uneducated and stupid, you know. This is the stereotype these people have about Indonesians in general, but talking about Indonesian women, especially when it comes to my experience in Hong Kong, you know. So this is what, to stay with these Hong Kong Chinese people, this is what they think about Indonesian people. So Hong Kong is in Southeast Asia, you know, or is not far away from Indonesia. So imagine if Hong Kong people who consider themselves educated have basically no knowledge about Indonesia and Indonesian culture in general, then you can imagine how cultures and countries were way more far away from Indonesia, what they think or what they know. They don't know much, and that's why I'm doing this video today. And if you think that Indonesians are stupid, uneducated and poor, then of course you probably also conclude or want to conclude that automatically also their values are poor, their attitudes are poor, you know, it's all the same. They have a poor work ethic and attitude, they are lousy, they are lazy, you know. This is my experience. This is what I can tell you, what many Hong Kong people thought at the time. I don't know how it is today. I just hope it has improved, because these girls deserve better. So long story short, you can see already there was a lot of ignorance at place and also arrogance. And I can tell you from my first-hand experience of working together in Indonesia, with a lot of female staff I had, not only in my kitchen team but also in other departments, it is totally not true, yeah, that they are lazy or lousy and they are dirty and whatever. It's actually the opposite, you know. Indonesian women have a great work ethic, yeah. They have a great attitude when it comes to work. What about the boys? I just briefly want to mention this. Yeah, the boys are also great. I had no issues. Later in the video I will talk about it a little bit more, but also just briefly. The boys are also good, you know, but when I have to compare the Indonesian boys and the Indonesian girls, or the Indonesian men and Indonesian women in general, bottom line, pros and cons all together, then I have to say, and I'm actually happy to say, that the Indonesian women perform just better overall when I take everything together than the Indonesian men, for several reasons I will explain to you in this video. So now some of you might say, you just prefer the girls because you're a man and you're into these chicks and you just want to hook up with them. True, yeah, I like them, and at the time when I worked there I was into them. I'm still into Indonesian girls today. They are very attractive. I'm a man. Physiques are very important to me, you know. I don't want to pretend it's not the case, but I can assure you that I prefer Indonesian women at work, or I preferred working with them rather than with men, is because of their performance, you know. I find these Indonesian women in general very clean at work, you know. The way they work is very clean. They're very disciplined workers and very hard working, yeah. And this is, I'm not saying all this here to blow powder sugar up their ass. This is, I think, how we say in Germany. This is not what I want to do here. I also do not want to give them compliments here. I don't need to do this, you know. I just want to state raw facts here. My impression, my experience, okay? And they are very hardworking women. And the kitchen job is a tough job, you know. it's a hardcore job, long hours, no holidays, sometimes off days get cancelled, you know. So, and these women performed always great. They are very focused also at work and very helpful. I remember one incident when I clashed with my pastry chef. My pastry chef, his name was Henry, actually a very nice guy, but somehow he messed up a very important project. And I was upset with him, and he eventually resigned on the same day. So I was a little bit in the shit, you know, because I had nobody really to take care of the pastry. And because my pastry kitchen was very small, I only had a handful of people working there. But I remember I had one strong trainee in there. Her name was Vedel, and she was a trainee at the time, 18 years old. So I had no other choice to ask her to come in. Actually, she didn't work there anymore, so I had to call her at home, you know, and ask her to come in and help out to cover the morning shift, you know. And I called her because I knew her attitude. I knew I could rely on her and she would not say no. Sorry, chef, I'm busy, I don't like. No. She said, chef, no problem. I'm going to be, what time you need me tomorrow? I said, I need you already 4:30. Is that okay? In the morning. She said, no worries, chef. I'm going to be there at 4 o'clock. And I knew instantly that I didn't need to worry at all, at least for this next day. And then later I hired her permanently. You know, so this is just one small story, but so very young, 18 years old, but already a great work ethic and attitude. These women are very serious also in their job. They are very considerate, careful, and also accurate. And I guess I mentioned it already a few times, but I want to make it very clear here again. I think the greatest attribute they have is their reliability. Indonesian women at work, when I worked with them in 3 different locations, 3 different hotels, 3 different cities, 3 different islands scattered around in Indonesia, they are very, very reliable, and this was one of the most important assets for me in kitchen work, in teamwork. You know, you need, not only in kitchen work, but you want reliable team members, right? People you can rely on, who not only say one thing and then do another thing. And Indonesian women were always, during my time, very reliable, no matter they were 18 years old or 28 or 30 years old. Yeah, and they're also super clean. I mentioned this already, but their kitchen sections were always meticulously clean, organized. You won't believe it. And this is where they are different to the Indonesian boys. The boys are more sloppy. And this is just how it is. This was my experience. So I really, because I'm also a very orderly guy, I like law and order. Nothing is flying around in my apartment. I guess I got that from my mom, you know, also a female. So I'm very orderly, so my expectations are very high in the kitchen. And if some of my ex-staff is watching me now, they will just start to laugh out loud right now when I just have said that, you know, because they know, you're right, chef, we remember, you were so picky all the time, and this needs to be so clean and this and that. But I had no issues with the girls, you know, because they cleaned by themselves. I rarely had to really, let's say, kick their ass, you know, or tell them to now clean the kitchen. I actually very, I don't even remember doing that, you know. So by this, hopefully you can also already see that these attributes and characteristics, so their reliability, they work very clean, very considerate, focused, they are careful, you know, they take their things serious. So long story short, Indonesian women have a great caretaker attitude and they have great caretaker attributes, which will be important later when you enter into a serious relationship with these women or even marriage, because they will be great wives and housewives and mothers, you know, because I could see that already at work. In my kitchen now, just to give you a little bit of an insight here, in my kitchen teams, yeah, the Indonesian boys were mostly in leading positions, and that was good, you know, because they also deserved this. They were capable, they were experienced, they also had the temperament to be a leader and to do this job, and also, yeah, work in leading positions. And later on, I also promoted a few ladies also into higher positions, but that doesn't mean that Indonesian women were not capable of leadership positions, just because at the time 80% of my leaders were Indonesian men. But you know, also that the girls performed very well, and they were in some areas better than the boys. And yeah, maybe I remember my assistant was a great leader. He had his act together and could manage and control his team, but maybe he was not such a good cleaner, you know, but the girls, they were better with that, you know. And speaking about the other departments in my hotels, in general, I just want to also mention the role of women in Indonesian society, or let's say in working societies, in working environments in Indonesia. About 10 to 14 years ago, when I was working in Indonesia, it was very interesting. Also, in other departments, I noticed that women were in leading roles. I remember, for example, the posts of director of sales and marketing were mostly occupied by women. Yeah, so my entire working experience in Indonesia was a very positive one, because I could see how male and female staff treat each other, but also how the working environment is and the conditions. It was always very liberal, same like in Germany, where women and men are on the same eye level, on the same page, you know. It was, again, a very liberal and tolerant working environment in Indonesia, where both sexes respected each other and worked and cooperated very well with each other. There was never an incident of discrimination in my memory. Although I don't know about the inside dynamics, because I'm a Western guy and I was a manager, so I was a little bit like, you know, hovering above these rank and file stuff a little bit, because I was also a foreigner. They would never really open up to me. So I don't really know what are the inside dynamics, how Indonesian, especially Muslim men, think and feel about if they have to report to a, let's say, Christian Indonesian woman. I don't know that. Maybe there is some jealousy and envy. Who knows? Maybe it's like in any other country. But again, my perception of working in different locations in Indonesia was always that they, both male and female, regardless of position, high or low, always treated each other with great conduct, respect, and they always showed great attitude. And it was more like a big family, actually, the way they treated each other, you know. The social dynamics are still different, also in the work environment in Indonesia than, for example, in my home country, in Germany. And also me, I treated everybody the same, woman, man, trainee or manager. For me, everybody was the same. They received all the same treatment because I believe in this, you know. I just believe in merit and performance, and I don't believe in race, skin color, or gender so much. Yeah, for me, I always looked at the performance and the attitude, and that is what counts for me, and still today. And yeah, this is how I was raised, and this is owed maybe also to my Western background, because in the Western world, you know, guys, everything is a little bit more liberal, which is good. You know, I'm not talking about the other strange things happening these days, but in general, for a long time, women and men are equal basically, and yeah, this is how I know it since I entered the workforce in the 90s. At least in my hometown in Berlin, that was the case. Women and men always respected each other and worked together with no issues at all. So again, overall, Indonesian women are very reliable, they are just clean, they have a great attitude, and that's why I liked working with them, and I would not hesitate to work with them again. Interesting was also to watch when we had trainees coming in, joining our kitchen team, and we worked with a lot of trainees actually at the time, and most of the trainees were female. That was interesting. Sometimes we had boys, and you can imagine these girls and boys were very young, sometimes only 17, 18 years old. But there you could already see, or I could see that even the trainee girls, the very young girls, the way they worked and performed was on a different level than the boys. And I don't want to go into the reasons why that is. I know why it is. This is just the way they are being raised also. You know, the boys seem to get more pampered treatment in Indonesian society, and the girls learn. It's like in other Asian societies where the girls already, yeah, are loaded with responsibility. So they learn very early how to clean the house, how to cook, how to do the laundry, how to ironing. These things are being taught to these girls in a very young age, whereas the boys, it seems, yeah, just enjoying their free time and hanging around with their friends, and they have not so much responsibility. That's what I want to say. This is the way it seems, and this is also, I know how it is going on in Indonesia, yeah, inside the family. So this is the dynamic. So, in other words, Indonesian girls, when they are young and very young, they learn already what responsibility is. They learn to be responsible. So when they enter the workforce as a trainee later, when they become 18 years old, they already have basically all the good attributes one needs to successfully survive and make it in a working environment. And this is what I could see with these female trainees, you know, great attitude, great work ethic, ready to go, even ready to take on additional responsibility, because this is what I did. Some of them are even hired permanently because they performed so well. The boys, I wasn't so sure. I remember I never hired any boy. They had to go after their traineeship. They had to look for something else. So I just thought I share this with you. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Why I love working with Indonesian women. They're very diligent, reliable, meticulous, and thoughtful in general. And again, these are great attributes for being also a great caretaker, because later on they will never lose these attributes, you know, once they develop them, you know, and they just practice them on an ongoing basis at work. But later, when you marry a girl, for sure you can trust her, or you can trust that she keeps these attributes, and she will lead her or your household in the same way, the way she performed at work, or what I could see, you know. So it's very promising actually, right? You can be sure, for those of you who still think, Indonesian women, I'm not so sure, you know, they have dark skin, they are small. I think, they're coming from the province. I think they are very poor rice farmers. They they have no knowledge, they are undereducated, and therefore they must be lazy. I can tell you, when you grow up at a rice farm, especially as an Indonesian girl, you know what hard work is, you know, and your parents would certainly not allow you to be sloppy or just hang around, play TikTok all day long. So you don't need to worry about that. I would even claim that the majority of Indonesian women have at least, if not a higher work ethic in general, with all these attributes I mentioned in this video combined, than Western women these days. You know, they are, in short, great caretakers, and this will be important later when you marry one and you want to start your own household. Because here's the very important thing. Indonesian women, still today, the majority of them are proud and happy to take care of the household. They don't see it as a burden or as a second-grade, second-class assignment. No, it's just their home will be their castle, that's their kingdom, and they will take great care of it. And that includes the housekeeping, the cleaning, the laundry, the cooking. They will be happy doing it, you know. I'm not saying they should only be the one to do it. I mean, there's nothing wrong if the man also helps in the household. Yeah, and sometimes, you know, these household chores are very straining and tiring. Yeah, and I'm not saying that Indonesian women are always, yeah, now I can clean the house again, and oh, now I have to iron again 20 tons of clothes. No, it's not like that. But in general, the general underlying attitude and the way they approach this whole thing is positive, and there is a certain pride still with them, and they understand also, they have a clear understanding of their role as a woman later in a marriage, and what role the woman is covering and what roles the men are covering in Indonesian society. So I want to emphasize this here and want to tell you. They are more traditional, more conservative, but this is very good if a woman has a clear understanding of her role, if a woman has a great attitude, if a woman is a great caretaker when it comes to household things, right? So, and this you can find with Indonesian women. So again, they are great women, and this is my experience with working with them. So with that being said, I'm checking out for today. Looking forward to your comments. Ask me questions also, I will answer all of them. And yeah, gonna see you in one of my next videos. Take care, bye bye.